Tiki, so is today your last day over at the network? I've been told that's the last show for you guys?
Today will be our last show over on CBS Sports Network from 3 to 6. BT is going to fill in tomorrow for Boomer on Gio's show, and I'll be in on Friday with Gio in the morning. So we're kind of getting an early start to the WFAN family, but all next week we're off, and then we restart on WFAN January 3rd at 10 to 2. So it'll be fun. We're looking forward to it.
No question. Looking forward to it, Tiki and Tierney. And how you doing with the Christmas shopping, Tiki? You get started? You done with that? Or
Dude, you know I'm the kind of guy that waits till the end. I do it every single year. I tell myself, I'll give myself at least a week, right? I'll just go one day and get one thing. Next day I'll get another thing. I end up waiting until Thursday, Friday every single year, at least 2 days before every single year. So I think I'm going to go tomorrow because I'm off tomorrow and get all my shopping done tomorrow. The problem is my kids only have a half day, and so I know that Tracy's going to be like, all right, we have a half day. I need you. So I have to go as soon as I get up to go shopping and get it done before they get off from school at like 1 o'clock.
What about BT? Did you get him something yet? You guys doing a gift exchange on the air today?
We will do something.
Really?
But we probably won't do it because we're going to go out to dinner with Samter and Stu, our board op from the last few months. Stu's been with us for the last few months, but Samter's been with us for 6 years or so. So we're all going to go out to dinner probably next week sometime, and that's when we'll exchange some gifts.
Who picks up that bill? I'm assuming you do. BT's not. I mean,
we bet. So we've had a bet. You know, BT's a wagerer, so we had a bet. You know, Brentford. You follow European soccer? So
I do not. No.
Brentford had been relegated for 74 years, and they finally got promoted back into the English Premier League. And Samter actually worked for them. He interned for them back right when he got out of college over in London. And so he's kind of like this Brentford Bees fan. And so when we told the story on air, BT was like, "Oh, I love that story. I want to be a Brentford Bee follower." So Samter and BT became this Brentford Bees like bandwagoners, whereas I have always been a Liverpool fan, and Stu Kovacs is a Liverpool fan as well. So Brentford played Liverpool earlier in the season, and we bet on who was going to win. And Samter wanted the line, or no, BT wanted the line. I think it was 2 goals or whatever it was, +2.
2 goals, geez, that seems like a lot.
Well, I mean, they've been relegated. Liverpool's
right.
like in the Champions League and constantly competing for an EPL championship. So it ended up being a draw. But
shocker.
It is a shocker because Brentford really played well in that game. But because BT wanted the goals, he actually won. So I'll pick up the tab.
All right, yeah, a long way getting around. BT doesn't want to pick up the tab. Just kidding. Anyway, Tiki and Tierney will start here January 3rd in this midday slot. All right, Tiki, I mean, we talked about it a little bit last week, the COVID impact. It is ridiculous now. It's not just the NFL, it's all sports, but even these games to wrap up Week 15 late last night, it's compromised. I mean, you're watching these games with third-string quarterbacks, guys missing all over the place. Doesn't it dummy down the competition?
It does a little bit, but I mean, I'm of two minds of this, Sal, because I agree with you. At this point in the season, the teams that are rewarded are the teams that have stayed healthy. And this is, non-COVID related, but I guess it applies, that have stayed healthy and that have continued to grow. And so they know what they do really well. They know what they should stay away from, and they're able to excel and keep getting better as you push into the postseason, right? These games, these last 3 mean a lot. But at the same time, I also know that the NFL has always been a next man up league. It's always, all right, I know that you're a reserve player and you're mostly here for special teams, but when you get your opportunity, you better be ready for it, right? And that's kind of how my career went, both in college and in the NFL. I was ready for the opportunity when it happened. And so, in some ways, I agree that we're missing out because Nick Mullins is starting at quarterback. You know what I mean? And at the same time, or even if you want to go to the Giants, it looks like Jake Fromm's going to start at quarterback, right? So at the same time, you're like, of one mind, you're like, yeah, but it's diminishing the product. But you also have to realize that this is a huge opportunity for some of these young players. And I guess the greatest example of it was the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions beat the Arizona Cardinals this past weekend, and it was one of the most shocking wins that we've ever seen. Detroit was 1-10-1 at that point, and the Arizona Cardinals are 10-4. And so, or 10-3, or whatever they were before the game started. And nobody gave Detroit a chance. But and they had 8, 10, or 12 guys on the COVID protocols. There's backup players that I honestly don't even know their names that are starting. The starting running back I'd never heard of before, yet they all go out and ball like they were prepared for that opportunity, and Detroit Lions got a win. And so in one mind, I'm of, man, I want to see the stars, but on the other side, I'm like, I kind of love seeing these guys take advantage of their opportunities.
How about the Giants, Tiki? Or in comparison, off of last night's game with the Eagles, Sirianni has done a tremendous job. I hated the hire. The guy looked like a doofus in the opening press conference.
I agree.
You're wondering what the hell, he's overmatched. They've done a great. They're 7-7. How come the Eagles, in a year where everybody expected nothing from them, and the year where the Giants were supposed to be playoff contenders, how come the Eagles could get to 7-7, but the Giants can't? Is it simple as line play? Why do you see the Eagles thriving in year one?
It's not necessarily. I mean, it is line play because it helps your quarterback, and that's, I think, been the real issue with the New York Giants is consistency up front, whether it's in the run game or in pass protection, for whoever's under center for the New York Giants this year. And the difference with the Philadelphia Eagles is, one, yes, Nick Sirianni is a really good head coach. I agree with you. When that first press conference came, he was like stuttering through, I knew what he was trying to say, but he just couldn't get it out. And it was like, man, this guy's clowning this first press conference. I'm not sure he can communicate to his team yet. And then he starts talking about, we got to plant flowers, and you got to see the blooms coming. Like, what are you talking about, dude? But he's turned into a guy who his team, his locker room, believes in, and they trust him. But I think the X factor is the quarterback. Right, Jalen Hurts isn't, the long-term, I'll put this in quotes, franchise quarterback, but he is a guy you can win with because he's dynamic and he can create things when nothing is around or nothing is happening. And we saw that last night when he rushed for 2 touchdowns, right? And then that opens things up so much for the run game. Miles Sanders, hasn't been great this year. He only had 112 or so carries coming into the game, but he ran for 120 yards last night. And so when you have that quarterback who can lift you despite everything else that's going around you, and then you have some outside players who are really good, like Devontae Smith, it turns things, right? You excel above the expectation, and that's something that the Eagles have done, and quite frankly, the Giants haven't. And it's frustrating because coming into the season, I was like you, Sal. I was like, all right, maybe the Cowboys are going to be the top of the division, right? They're good. They did well on defense. They drafted well. Dak is back and he's healthy. Washington, yeah, we can beat them, right? The Giants will be right there with Washington, competing for 2 in the division, and the Eagles, yeah, they're in a rebuild. We'll see them in 2 years or so. Yet we sit here at the end of the year with 3 games to go, and the Cowboys are right up there, but the Eagles are nipping, right at their heels. So it's frustrating, I guess is the best way to put it. But to me, it comes down to a quarterback who can who can ball on Sundays, even if things aren't perfect. And we haven't had that with Daniel Jones.
Well, that's exactly right. Daniel Jones is not that. So then the question would be, and I'm sure we've talked about this over the last couple of weeks, you talked about it with BT on your show, what would you do with the Giants here? And if you haven't talked about it, you're going to, starting January 3rd in this time. What would you do to fix it's not just Jones or Barkley or the offensive line. Overall, Tiki Barber's assessment of this organization, trying to fix it, get it headed finally in the right direction next year, what would you do?
Yeah, when we talked about this last week, Sal, I think a reset is needed with the general manager, and we know that. And, much respect to Dave for his long career and some of the successes that he's had, both previously with New York and then in Carolina and now back here with New York. But it's time for a new voice. I think the other thing is a different mentality in players and who you target. I think too often when your team has been bad for a number of years, as the Giants have, the Jets are in the same boat as well. But when your team has been bad for a number of years, you get caught in this mindset of we have to draft this position because this is what we're lacking, right? We need a left tackle. We need a quarterback. We need a wide receiver. We need whatever the position may be. And that's where the Giants have been. And you miss humongous opportunities when you do that. And the perfect example happened last year. And I didn't even think about this until I saw it written somewhere that the Giants, because we got pissed off that the Eagles traded up and took Devontae Smith, we backed out of our spot and went back to 20 to draft Kadarius Toney, who may turn into a good player, may not, I don't know. Or we could have just stayed where we are and took a game wrecker in Micah Parsons. And so I think when a team is like where the Giants are, like where the Jets are, you don't overthink about building, like how you're going to build. Oh, we need to get this piece, and then we're going to layer this piece on top of it, and then we're going to draft this guy next time, and then we're going to get this guy in free. Forget that. Find the best ass-kicking players you can find and draft them or acquire them, because you know that they're going to be difference makers. And so because we're looking for a wide receiver at, well, I forget where we slot 11 we picked at last year, I think it was. We were looking specifically for a wide receiver when the guy we wanted wasn't there. We panicked, moved back, and missed out on a humongous, baller in Micah Parsons, who's easily winning Defensive Rookie of the Year and is in the conversation for DPOY in the National Football League. So I think it's a mindset, it's a mentality that has to change with this Giants team to get those guys who are just all-timers. That's how it was in the 80s, right? When you drafted the LTs of the world and the Harry Carsons and these guys would come along. You get an all-timer, then good things are going to happen around them.
Well, don't you think that that's just Gettleman and his draft? I mean, look, the Giants' problems, to me, predate Gettleman with Jerry Reese. The way that Jerry Reese was drafting, the whole ending of Coughlin and transitioning to Reese.
We didn't re-sign any of those guys. Right?
McAdoofus, it was just a mess. But Gettleman himself, Tiki, you could look back at any draft and say, oh, well, they could have done this, could have done that. And there was this report by Tyler Dunn this morning. I don't know if you read it, but it looks like to be a scathing article, golongtd.com, a scathing article on Gettleman. But Gettleman not even really listening or working well with, this is according to a scout there, not working well with others or listening to others, people not having an idea of what he wants to do, and then goes out there and instead of taking Quentin Nelson and Nick Chubb, he decides to go Saquon Barkley number 2, and they end up with Will Hernandez a little bit later. Yeah. Gettleman in the draft has been awful, and that's why they are where they are.
Yeah, I think it's a. So I've learned this by doing things outside of sports. So starting a business and things of that nature, and being an entrepreneur, is that pride and ownership will kill you, right? When this is my idea, this is my way of doing it. And I'm right, and I don't care what anybody else says. If you honestly believe that that's how you're going to win, you're going to be proven wrong many more times than you're going to be proven right. It takes team. It takes a collaborative effort. It takes different perspectives and different ways of doing it. And so I have not read this article. I will read it, and I'm sure a lot of it will ring true. But if that's what it's come down to, and you see, meaning a scout sees a player one way or a situation with the team one way, and then Dave sees it another way, and then Dave is like, well, it's my way because that's the way I see it, I'm the guy in charge, then you're creating almost like a dysfunctional work environment, and it's hard to be successful when that's the case, when there isn't trust, when there isn't like the feel that my voice means something. And maybe that's what's going on. I'm not in that building. I'm not having conversations with people in that building, but the results are kind of speaking for themselves, aren't they?
Yeah, the results have been awful so consistently. It'd be one thing if it were an aberration when they had one bad year.
That's right.
They've been so bad for so long. How about
some of it is luck, though.
Well, that's true.
And bad luck. Like Saquon getting hurt. Saquon was the rookie of the year. He was unbelievable his rookie season, and then like that, he becomes the injury-prone kid, and that it's not really his fault, but it's just I think it's bad luck. Right, I can't. I'm not knocking.
Well, all
Saquon
the
for not
injuries,
being the player that he was, but it's almost bad luck, right? And so some of it's luck, some of it's a confluence of all those things. It's why it's so hard with this team, Sal. Right? Because it's like you can point to one thing, but then it's something else for another situation, and it's something completely different for a third situation, for the fourth situation, it's another thing that's gone awry. There's no easy answer for this Giants team, which makes them very frustrating to be a fan of right now.
Luck, no question, a big part of sports, and the Giants haven't had much of that. Although last year, playing well and being competitive. Anyway, enough about the Giants. What about the Jets, Tiki? I thought Zach Wilson, they actually played a football game for once.
That's right.
On Sunday against Miami, which I like to see, win
Progress,
or lose.
Man.
Yeah, exactly. What'd you think of Zach Wilson? Because I know he wasn't great the whole way, but to me, there was progress. He looked better, more like a rookie quarterback in the NFL than a quarterback who was completely overwhelmed didn't belong.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And, you see this sometimes when a guy as a rookie and I think we saw this with Sam, actually, Darnold, the previous, Jet quarterback. You play early. You have your struggles because it's just flying, man. Like everything that you're supposed to do and know is it's coming at you in waves, and you're drowning, trying to keep up with it. And then you get a chance to just sit back because of injury or you get benched or whatever it may be and just observe someone else do it. And you start to see, that's how Mike White did it. Oh, okay. Well, that's how Josh Johnson did it. Oh, okay. I see. That's how Joe Flacco handled this. And you have a new understanding of how things are going to happen around you because you've watched someone else do it. And it's the biggest fault of Joe Douglas this offseason. We've said this many times, and so many people have reiterated it, is not having that veteran presence in the quarterback room for Zach Wilson was one of the worst decisions that they made because they just threw him into the fire. And some people fly, and some people get thrown into the fire, and they're fine. Russell Wilson out in Seattle as a rookie coming from Wisconsin, via North NC State. Nobody knew who the hell he was or knew that he would be that guy. He got thrown into the fire in week 1, and 2 years later, he won a Super Bowl. Right? Some people can thrive, but you have to have a lot of experience. You have to have seen a lot of snaps. And Zach Wilson simply hasn't seen a lot of snaps, right? As a junior, he wasn't the guy at BYU. Last year at BYU, he had a fantastic season and burst onto the scene and rose up the draft board and all of a sudden was the greatest thing since sliced bread. Let's get that kid, right? But you have to realize that the path to excellence hasn't been realized yet. The 10,000 hour thing, you know what I mean? The 2,000 snap thing that David Deal likes to talk about. It hadn't happened yet. And so all of a sudden he's thrown into this fire with no experience and nothing to draw on. And he's sinking. And now he gets a chance to sit back and watch and reevaluate himself, most importantly. He is a film rat, right? He loves watching film. I think a lot of that over the last few weeks prior to him getting back on the field has been self-evaluation. And he's seeing what he was doing wrong and why he was doing these things wrong. And we're starting to see the progress. And that's encouraging, right? Because that's, at the end of the day, that's all you really wanted from the Jets this year was to show some progress with a young quarterback, this young leader who you want to build around and put talent around. We knew the talent wasn't there. I mean, I did that first game of the season against the Carolina Panthers and the Jets, and you just looked at their roster, and it was like free agent, 6th round pick, 5th round pick. There's just not a ton of talent on that roster. As this goes on, the roster will get better, and hopefully Zach grows with it.
Yeah, and at least there was some hope, even if it's been small glimpses this year. There has been some hope, and specifically, like I said, last week I thought Zach Wilson actually looked good, and there was some progression.
He did.
Tiki, Merry Christmas. Best of luck to both you and BT taking over this time slot January 3rd. Tiki and Tierney, hope you have a great holiday weekend. Enjoy yourself, and a good show with Gio on Friday. We'll be listening. Man. Yeah, and we'll talk to you on the other side. Best of luck,
Merry Christmas,
Tiki.
Happy holidays to you, Sal.